What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything you need to know here and what's going on here in our country on a daily basis. And a lot of people are reeling with what is passed here from the Senate, the Inflation Reduction Act. A lot of people, some people like it, some people hate it, some people are not sure about it. We're getting a lot of things here with what will reduce prescription drug costs for Medicare and seniors, which will reduce health costs. Actually, the oil and gas industry kind of likes it. Really a lot of kind of mixed feelings here, but look at this. Check this out. You can let me know your thoughts on this. Former President Donald Trump says Mitch McConnell, quote, got played like a fiddle on the Democrats' spending bill. I don't even know what to think about this. It's so odd that Trump is bashing his own party repeatedly. I don't know what to think about this. You let me know your thoughts here on this, because going into the elections and like, let's just hypothetically go forward here and say that former President Donald Trump became the Republican president or became the president here again. And Mitch McConnell is the Senate Majority Leader, and he's bashing a lot of other Republicans as well, calling them rhinos and stuff like this. It's such a weird position to bash. You know, Mitch McConnell's the leader of the Republicans in the Senate. It's such a weird position to bash the leader of your own party in the Senate. You let me know your thoughts here on this. And Trump has done this over and over and over again. And like, imagine if you were the leader of the Senate, and this is the former president doing this, who's going to run again as president. I mean, if you're Mitch McConnell, you wouldn't want to help that guy out for anything. It's really such a big controversy here, because imagine if Trump becomes president again. He is the front runner for the Republicans, okay? So I'll always get a few comments like, why are we talking about Trump? Well, he's going to run again as president for the Republican Party. He's the number one candidate for the Republican Party to run again as president. So that's a huge thing here, because he's bashing his own party. It's a very weird, I don't even know how to put this. Here's what Trump has to say. Former President Donald Trump laid into Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican from Kentucky, here last night, after Senate Democrats passed their long-awaited health care, tax, climate package, et cetera, et cetera. You know, there's a lot of things in this package. It's kind of all over. He says, quote, Mitch McConnell got played like a fiddle with the vote today by the Senate Democrats. Quote, first, he gave them the fake infrastructure bill, which was bipartisan. Republicans and Democrats voted for it. Then the gun safety bill, which overwhelmingly amount of polls show that Americans support it. Never used the debt ceiling for negotiating purposes, gave it away for nothing. I mean, the problem is if we defaulted on the debt ceiling, that would have been completely catastrophic. I mean, maybe you could have used it for negotiating, I guess. And now this. Trump says, Mitch doesn't have a clue. He is so bad for the Republican Party. Now, mind you, Mitch McConnell has been the leader of the Republican Party in the Senate for a long time. A long time. And in fact, not that I'm sticking up for Mitch McConnell or anything here, but Mitch McConnell has been praised for, his kind of general, being like a general leadership in the Senate, and his kind of like leading with an iron fist type of leadership and getting the job done when he was leader of the Senate. But here's an article: as of 2018, Mitch McConnell makes Senate history as the longest serving Republican leader. It's now 2022. So, yeah. And if anything, Mitch McConnell does at least sometimes come over and on some issues like gun safety and the bipartisan infrastructure deal, um, make deals. And I mean, that's what you have to do. You can't just, I mean, Trump's criticizing him for passing some deals with the Democrats. But think about how divided our Congress is right now. I mean, honestly, I could argue that we're a more divided Senate and Congress than ever. If we take away some of those deals like the gun safety, the bipartisan infrastructure, don't get me wrong, the gun safety, overwhelming support from the people, one of the highest polling ever, well into the supermajority, which is a 2/3 amount of people supported it. Depending on the polls, well more than that. Remember, that bill that passed did not, that wasn't even the bill to ban assault rifles. That was just enhanced background checks for 18 to 21-year-olds and a few things like that, right? Um, that was really what a lot of people considered a baby step. Okay. Even the president, when they had that ceremony for it, remember he had one of the fathers of one of the victims stand up and kind of shout at him. And even Biden said, listen, I wish there was a lot more. We can't pass anymore. So even Biden said to him, like, hey, I want there to be more. And a lot of people, when it passed, even the people that are like, anybody that like looks at the bill says, yeah, it's like the first gun safety measure passed in 30 years, but it really wasn't that radical. Like anybody who's a gun owner would say, well, this isn't going to affect me at all, as long as I'm not a complete outright criminal or something like that. But like Trump's criticizing him for like making a few bills and actually passing some things with Democrats. If we don't do that, nothing would literally ever get passed. Like you have to, Democrats and Republicans have to come together to pass bills. That's the whole point of Congress. If we don't do that, nothing would ever get passed ever besides reconciliation bills. So we're talking about like one bill in 2017, the Trump tax cuts, which Republicans passed on their own. One bill last year, the third stimulus check package. And then this bill, if it fully gets passed through the Inflation Reduction Act. Those are the only reconciliation packages so far in recent years. So you can let me know your thoughts here, but like we don't have that much bipartisan support right now. In fact, I could argue and say the separatism right now in Congress is at its highest. Okay, especially with the election coming up. I hope that after the election is over, that this eases down a little bit. The problem with this is that we have an election every 2 years. Okay, and this isn't even a presidential election. This is just a midterm election. I feel like when we go into a presidential election, it's even worse because then we got the whole president thing. This is one of the major problems with our society right now, and it happens every 2 years. So you have like a short window in between, and I feel it's definitely worse when one party controls everything. So in 2017, the Republicans controlled everything, the House, the Senate, and the presidency under former President Donald Trump. He struggled with the same thing, that they didn't have 60 votes in the Senate. That's almost unheard of, where, somebody would have all 60 in the Senate. I don't know if that's ever happened. And then now the Democrats have the House, the Senate, and the presidency, not more than a few years later. Okay. And, both parties, Trump, had the famous saying, we want to drain the swamp. But just a few years ago, they had control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency. So they could have drained the swamp then. And it's just like now the Democrats have control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and each party, constantly blames one another. But both parties had a shot with the supermajority, So that's the problem is that a lot of people buy into the propaganda of, oh, it's the other party's fault. But both parties had a shot just here in recent years. 2017, the Republicans had the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They had everything. Now the Democrats had a shot at everything, the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And the reality of it is that in all reality, it's the government is the government, right? We're just kind of ticking along, and they're trying to get stuff done. But the problem is there's always constant roadblocks from the other party, whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans. Yeah, this is the problem with the two-party system. Here's Senator Chris Murphy. He's the senator who was there. The Sandy Hook incident happened in his district. He seems like a pretty common sense senator. Here's what he has to say about the Inflation Reduction Act. You can let me know your thoughts here on this.
What do you think the most impactful part of the Inflation Reduction Act will be? And what are the challenges moving forward?
Well, all I know is that people's lives are going to get better. We have millions of seniors in this country who are choosing not to take the medications that are prescribed by their doctor because they can't afford it. This bill puts a $2,000 cap, out-of-pocket cost cap on prescription drugs for seniors. We have a planet that is warming at a rate that we just can't sustain. We have kids all around this country who wonder, are the adults going to take this seriously before it's too late? Storms, droughts, wildfires we can't control. We now have an incentive structure in place for renewable energy so that electricity producers are going to start building solar capacity, wind capacity, instead of just more oil-fired and gas-fired power plants. And I guess maybe what's most important to me in the long run is that we've really broken the back of the special interests that used to control Washington, right? There's no more powerful industries in Washington than the gun industry and the oil industry and the drug industry. And for 30 years, they stopped all of this from happening. Clean energy legislation, cap on drug costs, a gun bill. And I'm not saying we got it all done. There's still a lot more work to do. But all of a sudden, you see the possibility of what can happen if you put these sort of special interests on the sideline and just do what's right for people. So obviously, a really productive summer. And the bottom line is that people's lives are just going to get better.
Senator, can you talk a little bit about how we got here on the climate change bill? This is something that people in the U.S. have been trying to do since the 1990s, and it has failed time and time again. Subsequent consecutive presidents haven't managed to do it. I mean, clearly, it's a very hot summer. We've seen the fires. We've seen the record-breaking temperatures. And so, in a sense, it's hard to deny the evidence. The Republicans have made some missteps on this. But I'm interested in the strategic thinking around carrots and sticks that took place in this bill. That there seems to be just a different way of thinking about how we can enact legislation that will change the climate, that is not a tax on carbon, but is more of a carrot.
Well, let's go back about 10 years ago when we were looking at a bill that was carrots and sticks, the cap and trade bill. That was a different time. Since then, renewable energy has become more competitive. It is close to price competitive with fossil fuels. And so at this moment, late in the game, we were able to make this transformation with incentives alone. So these incentives really are going to make renewable energy and electric vehicles cost competitive with the old technology. And you are right. There's just no way to avoid the catastrophe right now. Every day you turn on your TV and you see the consequences of climate change. So I think we're just at a moment right now where we have had enough technological development that we just needed those incentives. And of course, the back end great news to all of this is not just that we're going to clean up the climate, but that we're going to create hundreds of thousands of jobs, right? Some country was going to have all the renewable energy and wind turbine jobs. Now we have a shot to create them in the United States. One estimate says 9 million jobs in and around renewable energy are going to be created in this country in the next 10 years. That's awesome news.
Also, interestingly enough, we have, you could see here, nearly 40% of Americans say that Trump or Biden as a second term would be the worst thing that could happen. Yeah, you can let me know your thoughts here. Yeah, a large amount of Americans think a second presidential term from either President Biden or former President Donald Trump would be the worst thing that could happen, according to a Yahoo News poll slash YouGov poll. Found that 37% of registered voters in both parties said re-election for Trump would be the worst thing for the country, and 35% thought the same if Biden ran again in 2024. So that's kind of the political atmosphere right now for either of them. Either of them. Yeah. And a lot of people feel the same thing about Congress as well. Yeah, I do see a lot of comments in the comment section of people saying we need new blood in Congress. Maybe the presidency, but that's not till 2024. But we are getting a lot of people even feeling it, talking about it. And we'll see here. We got a big election coming up here and a lot of governor elections coming up here. And I'll keep you up to date here on everything. Make sure to click the subscribe button down below if you haven't yet, and the like button for us. Click the bell icon to get notifications here when we go live with new videos. And I will keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. You can click here to watch my newest video next. And you can click here to see a bunch of different stimulus programs that are coming out here soon for tens of millions of people here. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you here in the next video.